Update. My 32 male wife, 35 female, is suggesting we open our marriage to my childhood friend. Original post. My wife and I have been together for 10 years, married for 8, and now I have 2 small kids together. She is the love of my life, and I could not imagine myself with anyone else. About 3 years into our marriage, she started to show attraction to Asian characters in the shows and movies we watched together in our weekly movie nights. At first, I brushed it off as a joke, but I realized she was serious about a month ago when we started watching Chicago Med. She joked often of wanting one of the characters, Dr. Choi, to be her doctor so he could feel her up. I laughed along until she insisted we stop watching when Dr. Choi got into a relationship with another doctor. Thinking about it now, throughout our entire relationship, Asian men caught her attention. For the past few years, she's been obsessed with popular K-pop members, joking how she would rather be with Eric Moon and Jimin, even going as far to say that she's disappointed she got stuck with a white man and that our babies aren't as cute. A friend of mine since childhood is Korean and visits with us often. He and my wife have become friends. I always thought she acted weird around him, but I never took it personally until last night. As I was cleaning up dinner, she put the kids to bed and asked to sit down and have a talk about something important. I was hesitant, but agreed. She started it by saying that she didn't feel like our intimate life was as fulfilling as it used to be. I was taken aback and asked what I could do to bring her more fulfillment. She suggested we bring in a third person into it. I instantly knew she had someone in mind despite her denying it. And after an hour of talking in circles, she revealed she had been having several thoughts and urges regarding my childhood friend, and she suggested I watch. I was stunned and told her I didn't want to discuss this anymore and slept in the living room. She took the kids to school this morning and went to help her sister pack as she is moving soon. We haven't spoken since last night, and I don't know what to do. I'm sat in my car outside my office writing this. I don't want to go home and see her knowing what she's thinking about. I think I want the divorce as she's clearly no longer the woman I fell in love with, and I suspect she has already acted upon her urges with him. Is that too big of a jump over a simple fantasy? Now for the top advice before reading the update. Don't fall for this crap. She wants to sleep with your friend, and she is using your lack of fulfilling life as an excuse to get what she wants without guilt. Do not fall for it. In my opinion, there is no coming back from this. In therapy, she will either deny or just say it is not working, may even eventually cheat on you. Doesn't a friend have to agree? We seem to ignore the fact that a friend would be totally against this and assume he will just say yes just because she wants it. The good friend should just shut her down and make her realize her foolishness. Unfortunately, if he shuts her down, she will have yellow fever until she gets what she wants. Based on her past comments, I believe divorce is OP's only option. I personally wouldn't say divorce is an extreme here. For real, especially because it looks like OP's wife is fetishizing Asians. Yeah, his wife seems so weird and creepy, especially with her comments being disappointed marrying a white man, since their babies won't be as cute as mixed Asian babies. So gross. Sorry, OP. She apparently can't imagine herself with someone else. You are no longer compatible. She has already picked out an affair partner, and you can watch. I suggest you start getting your financial affairs in order. Her crack about not having desirable-looking children with you is a massive insult. Be present and think about your own happiness too. You can watch. How incredibly disturbing, man. Brutal. It's like, well, damn, I definitely have a picture in my head now, huh? And her hating on her kids' look for not being the race she wants? Brutal. Yeah, I get her talking like that about her kids recorded somehow, so that when we hit divorce court, the judge can understand how shallow her existence and priorities are. Better to not tell the kids about this, unless you're willing to breed resentment in your children towards the mother. Honestly, so much stuff wrong with this post. And now for the update. First of all, I want to thank your community for the support. I'm sorry for the late update. Things have been busy around my house. To fill you all in relatively quickly, I returned home that night and made a post, and my wife and I were still not speaking. I waited until she was putting the kids to bed to make a call to my friend. I wanted to talk to him alone. I slipped outside and made a call, and I told him everything. He told me he was so sorry for me and that my wife's behavior was disgusting. He then confessed to me that a few years into my wife and I's marriage, she, drunk, made a move on him at a mutual friend's party. It began as flirting, and my friend was not entertaining it. She kissed him, and he left the party early. I asked him why he never told me about it, and he said he didn't want to ruin our marriage over something she did while drunk. They never spoke about it and continued as normal friends. Now that a week has passed, I've figured out that his party aligns with the start of her strange behavior towards Asian men in media. I thanked him for sharing this with me and hung up. I immediately went inside and confronted my wife. I was officially disgusted with her for pushing a kiss on my friend and suggesting I watch her be with him. I told her exactly how I was feeling and what my friend had told me. My wife admitted she only asked to open our bedroom to him because she has had feelings for him for years and wanted to keep herself from cheating on me. I explained that she already had and wrecked the foundation of our relationship. I told her we were divorcing and not to try and stop me, as was not changing my mind. In the last week, I've been staying with friends and family. She has done nothing but harass me via my number, and I am proud to say I have given her no attention. I see her still while stopping by my house during the day for my kids. They are too young to understand what's going on, and as I mentioned in my last post, they attended a daycare/schooling program for young children during the summer, and as a result, I never spend long in the house, and typically leave while taking them there. She won't mention it in front of them, so it hasn't been an issue. I've been seeking out a lawyer for divorce proceedings and looking for an apartment in my kids' school district. I feel freed. Many of you were right. Our marriage has been dead for a very long time. I'm not sure if I can ever see my friend the same way. I want to start therapy and try to work on it. He's been a very close friend since childhood, and I would hate to lose him. My friends and family have been very supportive, so have most of you on Reddit. You've helped me very much and made me feel valid in my feelings. I thank you all for that. Since no one mentioned this, if you own the house, go back to it immediately. If you don't, you will be seen as abandoning the house and kids. This will mess up your alimony and child support. Judges do not look kindly on this. Get back to the house. Thank you for telling me this. I only do not sleep at the house. I'll go while my kids are there and leave while they're gone and spend the nights away. The home is owned by my wife's parents, so she's not leaving. I am there every day. Their daycare/schooling program has those who drop off their children sign them in with both the child's name and yours. This is proof I have been seeing my kids for the last week and driving them there. I have this and many photos of my children from this last week. This situation is extremely temporary, as I now have a move-in date for an apartment nearby. Does this all work well for me? I really doubt she will fight me in custody at all. In the brief conversations we have had that she brought up our kids and what to do, we seem to agree 50-50 is the correct thing. Don't ask Reddit. Just do what your lawyer advises. Last story. Updates about my 24 female boyfriend's 25 male, creepy best friend 24 male. Original post. I've been dating my boyfriend for 3 years, and we've been living together for the past 6 months. My boyfriend has a childhood friend. They've been best friends forever. They've been friends from elementary school. He's been there for my boyfriend through his mother's protracted illness and eventual death. During a time period where we hadn't met yet, he's like a brother to my boyfriend. My boyfriend speaks of him with a lot of respect and affection. The three of us hang out a lot, but this best friend of his is a bit of a... I'll let you pick the right word after I describe him to you. His relationships never last. One of the girls he dated was going to call the cops on him because he hit her and verbally abused her. He called my boyfriend, who then proceeded to talk her down and convince her not to go to the cops. My boyfriend then promised her that his friend would never bother her anymore. The whole thing threw me off, but I know my boyfriend. He is a gem of a person. The only reason that girl didn't press charges against his friend was because she knew she would trust my boyfriend to protect her and keep his word. I wanted to have nothing to do with his friend after that incident, but my boyfriend explained his friend's complicated past to me and rationalized his behavior. I let my boyfriend hang out with him, but I myself stayed away from him. Things eventually got better. His friend got therapy and seemed to be doing well. So for the sake of my boyfriend, I let him back into our lives. That was a mistake. Now that we've moved in together, I feel like his friend visits too often. He would order me around in our house. Get me this, get me that. My boyfriend would immediately smooth the situation by getting him that himself. One day, when I snapped at his friend, he told my boyfriend right in front of me, get her under control. And my boyfriend apologized to him. Then after he left, apologized to me for taking his side. I was left so confused and bewildered. The worst part is, the way his friend looks at me. It just feels disgusting and wrong. I don't feel comfortable wearing shorts or sleeveless tops or low-cut tops in my own home when he visits. We have a 3-seater couch in our living room and 2 single-seaters. If I'm on the 3-seater, he would come sit right next to me. I've told my boyfriend this many times and he stopped inviting him over. But that hasn't stopped his friend from coming over uninvited. Yesterday, he showed up when my boyfriend wasn't home and refused to leave before talking to my boyfriend first. I was forced to wait with him for my boyfriend to return. Then he steered the conversation towards our private life, asking and talking about how all the girls were always throwing themselves at my boyfriend, how he never understood why, and he wanted me to explain what I liked about my boyfriend that much. I didn't even reply to that question, and he continued to pester me about it. Is it his junk? I got up and walked out, leaving him to wait alone, even though I wasn't comfortable leaving him alone in our home. My boyfriend is unwilling to cut him off completely, despite me begging him to do so 1,000,000 times. I even threatened to break up with him. He just broke down. He promised he'll have a talk to his friend and set him in line. But he said he can't cut him off because he was there for him when no one was. That he owed him. I love my boyfriend. He's the best person I've ever met in my life. He's a total saint, but I've had enough. I am thinking of leaving him if he continues to be in contact with his friend. But I cannot bring myself to leave, especially because we've never had any significant relationship troubles of our own making. I couldn't ask for a better man to be a father of my children, except this inability to cut off a rotting arm, in this case, his best friend. He's just not someone who gives up on people. I'm at a crossroads here. I need advice from people who have been in a similar situation. Your boyfriend is enabling his friend. I've had a complicated past, but I'm not an ass towards other people, because having a bad history isn't an excuse to be one. He should be challenging his friend's behavior instead of tiptoeing around it, and literally getting him out of trouble. Honestly, I don't blame you for wanting to walk. I don't think I could have stayed with someone knowing they had prevented a woman who had been assaulted from calling the cops. It's one thing to be a nice guy, it's another thing to be a doormat and enable bad behavior. Yes, OP's boyfriend is not a gem of a person if he chooses to surround himself with people like this. He is an apologist and enables his terrible behavior. I cannot get past the part where boyfriend protected and excused a woman beater, and you allowed it. This alone is not okay, a huge red flag, and that you so easily move on from it as an issue is not okay. You need to really consider what you think is acceptable or not. My boyfriend is loyal to a fault. He tried many times to get his friend therapy and the help he needed. He told me that his friend had literally held his hand through his mother's time in palliative care. They just have too much history together that I can never compete with or begin to understand. My boyfriend did promise me that he won't protect his friend a second time. My boyfriend has never been abusive towards me. He would cut off his arm before he hurt a hair on my head. So if his friend gets mad and strikes you, what are you expecting your boyfriend to do? Same question, but instead of strikes, substitute violates. Those creepy questions after getting OP alone about their intimate life are this guy's idea of foreplay, and he will convince the boyfriend that it was somehow her fault. Now for the update. I posted over a week ago about my situation on here. You were all kind enough to take the time to give me some real advice. I thought if my boyfriend could see it too, maybe it would serve as a wake-up call. So I threw caution into the air and showed him my Reddit post. He spent a long time reading the replies, in silence, then went off on me for sharing private details about our life on the internet. He scolded me for making him look like an abuse enabler and accused me of not knowing the details of what happened. We got into a huge fight about it, and I walked out on him and temporarily moved in with a cousin. Then today I got a call from one of his coworkers asking why he had a busted lip and a swollen face. So I called him and asked to meet him. He said he got into a fight with his friend over me. I asked him to press charges, and he refused. He said they're not on talking terms anymore and that it didn't matter. However, he said he can't overlook the fact that I posted about him on the internet instead of talking to him, when in reality, that's all I've been doing for the past few years. I can't get past the fact that he is still unwilling to press charges on his friend after becoming his victim. So we decided to break it off. We haven't figured out what we're going to do about the apartment or anything. I am just crushed. I thought being away from me would finally bring him to his senses, but turns out I was asking too much. I really hope I did the right thing. No idea how I am going to deal with losing him, and I can't help but feel like none of this would have happened if only I hadn't posted about him. I'm still not sure if this is a good thing. I guess only time will tell. I feel horrible about myself, but here I am doing it all over again. I could really use some words of wisdom right now. Your story gave me chills. Guys like that creep are extremely dangerous, so breaking up with your boyfriend, who brings these kind of dangerous people in your life, was the best thing you did. Trust me, you will be extremely grateful for the choice you made. I am positive your boyfriend agrees with everything you wrote and all the advice you got in your previous post. Otherwise, he wouldn't go and fight with that creep. He is only angry because reading your post made him realize what kind of person he has been, and he didn't like it. And instead of acknowledging his flaws and working on them, he is blaming you and getting angry at you. He is only trying to comfort his wounded ego. Exactly. OP, I'm glad it was the boyfriend who got the bruises and not you. I didn't read the original and I don't need to, at least to recognize that it's best you two split. I don't know what context would make any of this okay. It's probably best long-term that you two go your separate ways. Even though it sucks and definitely was not what you expected. It's going to take some time for me to get back on my feet and sort out my feelings. If he had just asked me to come back, I would have willingly complied. But I suppose it's all for the best. Honestly, it's karma he got his ass beat by that abuser. Cosmic intervention. You still have the love blindfold on maybe, which is understandable. But I hope you get to the point where you understand how horrific it is that he is so awful and enabling that, even after getting beat, he's still too obtuse to give consequences to that abuser. You are free from the enabler and abuser and free to find peace and comfort.